guys, I hope you've all had a lovely week. So this week's video is kind of a follow-up on my video from last week about mental health. But this week I'm kind of gonna be talking about statistics and things in regards to mental health amongst care leavers and children and young people in care. So one thing that I did notice is that I searched and I couldn't find anything really from Ireland. So there's not really any research done in Ireland about mental health amongst care leavers and young people in care. A lot of the research that I did find was in the UK and in Northern Ireland. So that kind of struck me a bit, and I think that definitely needs to change. A lot more work needs to be done in Ireland, in the country that we're living in, about mental health amongst care leavers and young people in care, because it's such a big issue. But I guess I'll get down to it, and I have my little sheet of info here so I don't give you the wrong information. I didn't fully get a chance to read every single one of these sources, but I will definitely give you all a link to them after this video, just so you can check it out for yourself. But what I did find kind of does support the ideas that I've already given in my previous videos about the fact that there is a lot of insufficient funding and services given to young people in care and care leavers in regards to mental health. But this is the first kind of source that I found online. So this is based on the Casper project done by Voipic, and the information and statistics were gathered in Northern Ireland. So it's based on the young people in care and care leavers from Northern Ireland. So on the intro page, on page 4, it does question that despite being put into legislation that mental health needs to be focused on amongst care leavers and young people in care, has that happened? Are young people and children in care being listened to about how their needs should be met despite it being in legislation? Now that's a big question, and definitely I don't think that they are in Ireland. I haven't really seen proof to state otherwise. In chapter 4 on page 12, they do suggest that before diagnosing mental health issues in young people and care leavers, one must look at the environment that they are in and how that has impacted on their health and their mental health. On page 13, they suggest that we must re-examine what to expect for the mental health of those who are in the care system, so that they are not compared to typical figures and the baseline for normal young people and children and teenagers, suggesting that perhaps those in care are impacted more by their environment, by the situation that they're in, and that their mental health should be separately investigated from the country as a whole. They do say that they couldn't find any information or research prior to the year 2000 in regards to mental health, in particular amongst young people in care and care leavers. But they did find that there are higher rates of mental disorders amongst those in care, rather than those in private households, so those who have not been taken away from the care of their parents. And they found that the studies that are made on mental health tend to leave out older adults and care leavers. So even when research is being done about the mental health of children and young people in the care system, older adults and those who have left care are not being looked at, and I think they are even more greatly impacted as they're left on their own without any supports and services. And definitely leaving them out of the studies is a major downfall. Now on page 14, they are looking at 12 to 18 year olds in regional care, and they state that 90% of those spending time in regional care are diagnosed with anxiety. 86% of them have difficulty coping with situations in their lives, and particularly when they leave care. And 71% of them experience a sense of hopelessness. Now, this is obviously based on the 52 children in the care system in Northern Ireland. Chapter 5 on page 18 moves on to state that only about half of those are assessed and are given the recommended help, and care leavers are left without help and fall through the net. On page 19 of the project research, they go on to say that sometimes mental health difficulties and issues such as struggling with interpersonal relationships that young people and children in care might face are misunderstood and misdiagnosed, particularly by their carers, who disregard these difficulties and see them as behavioural issues rather than the deeper kind of difficulties that they're experiencing. On page 20, they go on to state that young people tend to hide their mental health, so they do not speak about the issues that they are facing, because they are trying to appear and feel normal amongst their peers and everybody else. This I can understand, because being in care does kind of impact on your sense of being a normal child, and you do want to feel like everybody else your age. Now, they also go on to speak about assessment and monitoring of mental health in children and young people in care, and they state that this is not followed up on, and that's why adequate care is not received. Now, they do say that this can happen for many reasons, such as placement instability. So if you're being moved from one place to the next, the care that you might have been receiving and the support that you might be receiving in one place won't be followed up on, and you will not get that same type of care later on. On page 21, they suggest that the urgency in regards to mental health that is being given as a whole for young people in the country, that same type of urgency is not given to the care experienced community and those who have been in the care system. And they also say that many services and supports are not given because professionals think that they would not be helpful. They believe that those in care would not take the help, or they're too far gone for their services to help them, which I think is a ridiculous concept to even put forward. If you are a specialist, then it is your duty to help that child, young person, care leaver in whatever way that they need, regardless of whether you think that it's going to help them or not. And if you are in the mindset that your services cannot help those that need them, then why are you in that field of work, I think when you're working in mental health services, you need to believe that you can help those around you and those that come to you with their issues, Now, that is all that I got from that particular source. Moving on, I think the only source I got from the Irish perspective was from Focus Ireland, and even at that, this wasn't very detailed or anything. But it was an article from the 17th of May 2019, and it was from the perspective of the Irish Aftercare Network. And they suggest that the services such as practical and therapeutic support for the mental health of young people in care and care leavers is not sufficiently resourced or funded. They state that the most at risk of homelessness are those with traumatic childhood experiences, which, as someone who is care experienced, typically that is your background, so you are more likely to end up at risk of homelessness, as suggested by Focus Ireland. and not enough emphasis is being put on the emotional and psychological issues of care leavers, in particular. So, like I've said before, you kind of see a pattern, even when there is research being done about mental health amongst those in care. It's typically amongst children and young people, and care leavers and older adults who are care experienced are typically overlooked. Um, that's kind of all I got from Focus Ireland as well, which is kind of disappointing that I couldn't find anything from the Irish perspective. Um, but I do have two other sources that I will speak about now, just briefly. And again, they're from the UK perspective. So the next source is from an article that was written in the Children and Young People Now site. It's from Wednesday, the 13th of September 2017. And this is based on a study carried out by Barnardo's, and it's the study of care leavers missing out on mental health services and supports. Now, based on this study by Barnardo's, they suggest that two-thirds of those in care and care leavers are not receiving specialist support for their mental health, or counselling, or psychotherapists, psychologists. They're not receiving that help and support that they need. They state also that 1 in 4 experience mental health crises when they leave the care system. They go on to suggest that a mental health worker should be placed into the care teams, so provided to the young people and care leavers, as part of the teams that help them progress from care into adulthood. They suggest that there needs to be improved training for mental health workers, social workers, carers, in regards to dealing with mental health issues in young people in care and care leavers. And they also suggest again that a lot more funding needs to be put into the system to provide better mental health services and supports for those that are leaving the care system. Again, this was based on a study in the UK. And I definitely agree. As you can see, funding, major issue all around. There's just not enough resources and money being put into providing the right type of services and supports in regards to mental health for children in care, young people in care, and care leavers in particular. And also the suggestion of a mental health worker being given alongside what we would call our aftercare worker. That would be, I think, an amazing addition. So even if that was something that was researched in Ireland and discussed, I think that would be amazing. So I have just one more source that I found online, and it is from the 12th of May 2010. It's called Leaving Care and Mental Health, The Outcomes for Children in Out-of-Home Care During the Transition to Adulthood. Again, it's based on research done in the UK. So all these figures are from statistics gathered in the UK. They state that 45% of children in care and 72% of children in residential care are clinically diagnosed with a mental health disorder. And you can see these rates are just horrific. There are so many children in the care system suffering, clinically diagnosed with mental health disorders, and yet there's so few supports and so little funding and research being put into this, which I think is just, it's ridiculous. So I do have one more source here actually, and it's called Caring for Better Health. It's an investigation into the health needs of care leavers, and it is done by the Care Leavers Association, which is a charity that look, research and provide funding and supports for care leavers with their mental health and other kind of issues that they might face. And it is an article from December of 2017. It's based on a survey given to 418 care leavers. So it's this I haven't really been able to look into as much and read as much of, but I think I definitely want to link this source to you because it is an incredible source. Again, it is on statistics found in the UK, but it provides a lot of information, and particularly in section 9 on page 41 to 45. They give suggestions for the improvement of services, and I think they're really good. They speak about a lot of different aspects of mental health and care leavers, such as isolation, um, self-esteem, all of these things. It is a really good source, and they do provide accounts from the perspectives of those care leavers. So to have like a first-hand perspective into the experience, I think makes it a much better source, and it has a lot more information than anything else I was able to find. So I definitely will link that in. But that's kind of all that I could find online. Again, I am quite upset at the fact that I couldn't find anything really based on the Irish perspective. A lot of it was the UK and Northern Ireland. But I think overall, what we find out is the same. The same message is kind of being told loud and clear, that care leavers and young people and children in care are suffering with their mental health, and they are at greater risk of having mental health issues because of their experiences and because of the care system. And the fact of the matter is that there is no funding, research, or support and services being put into actually creating a better care system and better supports and services for those suffering with their mental health. And I think hopefully, if more people can speak out about their experiences and kind of fight for the rights of young people in care and care leavers to receive that mental health support, hopefully something will change soon, because it's definitely needed. Um, yeah, that's kind of it. Thank you so much for listening and for all your continued support of my page. And I will talk to you guys next week. Enjoy your weekend. Bye.